If there's one thing I love more than film, it's gambling. Okay, maybe not more, but generally the idea of taking a chance to win big by analyzing a bunch of minute details with some skill and still betting on luck is like mega addicting. I wasn't much of a gamer growing up, but I generally played board games. Board games like Catan and Monopoly eventually got me into poker. Shout out Casino Royale. But even before all that was my introduction in Nintendo's Mario games. My personal favorite was the Luigi minigames on the DS from Super Mario 64 and New Super Mario Bros. Anyone who remembers that, shout it out in the comments below, because that low-key started my gambling addiction. But the obvious and most prominent example was the concept of Mario Party, a virtual board game experience with full-on luck, with dice rolls and janky events, but balanced out with the concept of minigames, which were skillful for the most part. This was the quintessential game to play for fun with friends, or with my sister at home. So much dumb bullshit, and I loved it. I grew up with the Mario Party 8 game, but after Nintendo went off the cliff with the dumb Mario Party car era, I stopped playing. It wasn't until my college years that I got back into the franchise with another twist: booze. I recently decided to visit some of the older Mario Party games from the 64 era. Mario Party 2 became my favorite game in the series, but Mario Party 3 was the most intriguing to me. It was definitely less balanced. Its minigames and boards were fine, but for some reason, it brought in some of the most intriguing elements that have never returned. I mean, the reverse mushroom, an item that could let you do stupid shit like visit Boo pretty much twice. The wacky watch, an item that immediately turned the game to last 5 turns. That's like so funny. But this game also introduced a new space. A space they've never brought back, a space that is just pure gambling. The Game Guy space. Now, I'm going to take this video to explain this space to the best of my ability for 1, those who know what this is and have played Mario Party 3, 2, for those who don't know what this is but have played Mario Party before, and 3, those who don't know what this is, haven't really played Mario Party, but just love gambling. Let's get started. This is my favorite space and idea in all of Mario Party, so I'm dying to talk about it. As I said before, the Game Guy space was introduced and only in Mario Party 3. What the space essentially did is, if someone landed on it, it activated this one-player Game Guy minigame. The game essentially had you bet on a luck-based event that, get this, could double, quadruple, octuple, 64tuple your money. Now, in a game like Mario Party, this is big. Since the game revolves around your characters collecting coins and using said coins to pay for stars to win, or items to help you win, coins become uber important. Throughout the game, you play mini-games that if you win, you can get 10 coins, which isn't a lot, but it's something and it can add up. Meanwhile, most events on the board take away or give you coins, usually ranging from 3 to like 20 coins. So why do I mention this? Well, Game Guy is the only space and event in all of Mario Party that has the ability to multiply your coin amount, not add to it.
We are good at multiplying anyway.
This is crazy big and thus makes the event super impactful depending on if you have a lot of coins. The only other event that kind of does this is a duel event, where you can double your money by winning it big from an opponent, but the Game Guy space has you play against the house with your own money. It is straight up gambling in Mario Party. It creates a situation of relying on pure luck for a rare and amazing prize. To make things even better, the space is super rare, only having like 2 to 3 of them on a map of 70 to even 100 spaces. This makes landing on them very difficult, but crazy if it does happen. What's even funnier is that if you land on it, you have no choice but to play the game. Like, sometimes you may be satisfied with your amount of coins, but the game makes you play. It forces you to gamble. There is just no choice. So we've gone over 3 reasons so far as to why I love the Game Guy space. It rewards you with multiplying your coins, it's super rare, and it forces you to gamble, making it a large risk. But the biggest one is the effect the space can have on the game. Essentially, the stakes. Let's take a look at this quick scene from Pirates of the Caribbean, the Liar's Dice scene. Now, this is my favorite scene in the franchise, and it is pretty famous, but I think it demonstrates how important stakes really are. In the scene, we have our protagonist, Will, being bound aboard the Flying Dutchman, but he's really only there to find this special key which contains the heart of the immortal Davy Jones, our antagonist. I'm not going to play the full scene, mainly the setup before it, just to show you how powerful stakes can be going into something like a small game.
I challenge Davy Jones.
I accept that.
The stakes.
My soul. An eternity of servitude.
Against.
I want this.
How do you know the key?
You can still walk away.
These stakes work as great setup for the situation at hand. Both are massive and can make waves for the characters' lives in the universe. The game they play wouldn't be as meaningful if they were just playing for fun or for a few measly dollars. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, the stakes, as Davy Jones puts it, will add weight and tension to a game you play, which means that in Mario Party, if something like all your coins are put on the line for a chance at doubling or even 6 to 4-bling the amount you have, it will break the status quo. It's the reason why battle minigames for 50 coins, duels for stars, or chance time is just so insane. They have stakes. Game Guy does this too. If you win or lose, it can flip the entire game of Mario Party on its head. Essentially, it creates setup before the game even happens, and that's brilliant. No other space is able to really accomplish this. But now, let's go over the real creative cleverness behind the space itself, the 4 Game Guy minigames. When you land on the space, it activates a random choice of 4 different types of minigames: Game Guy's Lucky 7, Game Guy's Magic Boxes, Game Guy's Roulette, or Game Guy's Sweet Surprise. Each minigame is super distinct and has a funny aesthetic and theme, but they all have one thing in common. They're all just pure gambling. Not only do you bet on certain outcomes to occur, but some of these games have the ability to continue trying again to double your money even further. For example, Game Guy's Magic Boxes, my favorite one based on concept, and it is super simple. You have a 50-50 chance to pick a box with Toad or with Baby Bowser. If you get Toad, you double your money. If you get Baby Bowser, you lose it all. It sounds kind of simple and boring initially, but let's say you win. The game gives you the chance to play again, with the option of doubling your funds again, essentially quadrupling your amount. Anyone who has a gambling problem knows how enticing this can be. And then you can even do it again, like oh my god, times 8? The chance of winning more and more or losing to the house is incredibly addicting, but also brutal and rage-inducing. And I love it. Game Guy's Lucky 7 takes another funny concept of rolling a 6-faced die against the Shy Guy. If you roll higher, you double your money and go up that amount of a 7-story staircase. But if you win, you get the chance to roll a second time, to land on step 7 of this 7-story staircase. If you do, you can increase your money tenfold. Just another addicting idea of risking it even once you've already won. This really gets my gambling gears going. Not to mention the probability that one can get into is insane. I looked online and the goddamn Mario Wiki breaks down the probability behind the minigame in insane detail. Unlike Game Guy's Magic Boxes, which is the simple coin flip probability equations, Game Guy's Lucky 7 is, well, a bit more complicated. Now, I was a math guy in school, but I always hated probability. If anyone can make sense of this to me in the comments below, let's just say my gambling brain will be very happy. Let's move on to the other 2 Game Guy minigames, which are simpler, yet still fun. Game Guy's Sweet Surprise is my favorite in terms of aesthetic and theme. It has you bet on 2 chain chomps, a big one and a small one, as to which will eat a cake faster. They have odds amounts attached to each, where you can bet on which one will win, and if it does, you get your coins multiplied by the multiplier attached. This one is just funny. It has hilarious dialogue and it is just super intense. The amount of times I've just yelled at my screen, hoping one chomp would beat the other one, it was literally horse racing. Which leaves us with the last minigame and the last area of gambling we haven't hit yet. Except for slots, I guess. And that's roulette. Game Guy's Roulette is the simplest game here, but the most rewarding in my opinion, and still, it's uber fun. You do the standard roulette thing of betting on the spot the spinning shell will land on. Each one has multipliers attached, and if it lands on that spot, you get the amount associated. Simple, fun, and still with crazy breakdowns in the Mario Wiki. The amount of thought that goes into these games can be overwhelming and so funny. Like, these games are so intense and so addicting, they have so much depth, and because they're set in the normal Mario Party setting, it gives them crazy stakes on the main game at hand. So if this is such a funny and incredibly addicting space, why did it only exist in one Mario Party game? Why did Nintendo toss it aside and never bring it back? Well, honestly, I can think of a number of reasons, which will all low-key be valid, as you'll see in a second, but to me, they're all just one thing. Excuses, excuses. But jokes aside, let's get into why Game Guy was only a one-time deal. I identified 3 reasons as to the tragic fall of this space. The first reason is that it is a one-player minigame. Other spaces, which I briefly mentioned before, like chance time spaces, or even other ones like battle or duel spaces, were a little less impactful, but had you interact with other players. Game Guy was having you play a game against the house, if you want to call it that. So in a game like Mario Party, which is a game where players are constantly interacting against one another, Game Guy is the opposite of that. It's a one-player minigame where only one player has control. It may impact the other players, but only one person makes decisions. It's why they got rid of things like the one-player minigame space, which only showed up in the very first Mario Party, and in my opinion is the main reason that the car mechanic in Mario Parties 9 and 10 failed. Not having players really mess with others and making it more independent really went against the party and interactive feeling of the game. The second reason I identified was that the space was just too broken. It was incredibly impactful, where one player can end up with insane levels of coins. This could easily cause coin inflation and just make a game a runaway for a certain player if they just got lucky. Now, I know a large part of Mario Party is luck, but I think the developers just thought this was too brutal. On top of the fact that Mario Party 3 and many Mario Parties had something called the coin bonus star, where whoever collected the most coins at any point got an extra star at the end. If someone landed and won a ton of money from Game Guy, this would easily secure that. With future games trying to focus on balancing the economy more and emphasizing choice, this space no longer fit into the vision of future Mario Party. And let's not forget the introduction of things like custom dice, which would be crazy broken in a game with a space like this. Imagine accumulating just a measly 50 coins even, then going to Game Guy and betting it all, and if still losing, doing it again. Which brings me to point 3, it was promoting straight gambling. Mario Party was a very fun and low stakes kind of game amongst friends. Besides the occasional duel or battle, which wasn't always crazy impactful and required skill, Game Guy could break the game with minigames that were just pure luck. And on top of that, they contained elements that were addicting and thus unhealthy. The concept of betting all your money on something out of your control with an incredibly out of reach reward became pure gambling. Add on that some of the minigames had the choice of stopping or continuing down the rabbit hole further was just downright unhealthy. It promoted this obsessive and addicting behavior with such high stakes that it could cause things like anxiety and high emotional volatility. That as a whole was dangerous and why Nintendo probably said it was a no-go. Now, do I think this space should return? And in all honesty, I think it should. On a simple level, yeah, I love to gamble. Putting it all on red to increase my profits tremendously is just fun, and Mario Party isn't really a serious thing, it's just a game. And amongst your friends, it's going to get infuriating and emotional if you let it, but it can also be controlled if you let it. The space is just a fun and unique addition to a game like Mario Party. However, as much as I love it, it does contain some flaws. Ones we went over already, and I think one thing that could be a good change is that it is not a mandatory event. You should have the choice to play the game, but other than that, it's pretty rare, so it's not constantly shaking up the game, and although it's focused on luck and odds, on top of it being a one-player focused game, I would argue that because it's short and has high stakes, the one-player aspect doesn't matter. I can see friends going crazy over it sometimes. And because it's luck-based, it doesn't require much concentration or extra gameplay. It's not like the lucky space from Mario Party 8, which is also rare and broken, but also fairly long and gives a player way too many benefits with no risk. Which finally leads to our last point, Game Guy doesn't mess with stars, which are the real winning currency in the game. One can win 1,000 coins in a Game Guy game, but if they have no stars and someone else just played the game normally and won a few stars with normal amounts of coins, they will win Mario Party at the end. Game Guy is just something different that spices up the game. Game Guy is creative, fun, and especially unique. You'll never see anything like it in any other part of Mario Party again. Hashtag bring back Game Guy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know I've normally been making video essays and analysis about movies, but this idea was just too juicy to pass up. It's combining one of my favorite group party games with gambling. What's not to like? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. I'm really trying to grow my channel, so if you like my content and want me to do more stuff about games on top of film, please let me know. Thanks again, and have a good day, y'all. Bye.